People in our hood is getting murdered regularly by corrupt portions of law enforcement.
The history of gun control is a history of racism.
I'm not in the business of trying to convince somebody that my life matters. My black gun will make you very well aware that my life matters. This right here is why you're getting your head blown off.
Rapper and civil rights campaigner Maj Toure has made it his mission to bring firearm knowledge to America's inner cities. He believes that years of prejudice have convinced urban black communities to associate gun ownership with crime rather than a legal and rightful way to defend yourself.
The problem is the lack of information and education about firearms and safety. In urban communities, there's a deliberate attempt to keep that information away from those highly populated areas because it's not about gun control, it's about people control. And that's the problem.
Maj is touring the US teaching people in urban communities about their Second Amendment rights. He argues that more legal gun ownership and knowledge about firearms will make communities safer and has called his campaign Black Guns Matter.
Black Guns Matter, we're a firearms safety training and education organization. Officially, we started about a year ago. Unofficially, we started way before that. We go to areas where there's high urban areas, high crime areas. We inform people in those areas about their Second Amendment right, firearm safety, and just train them in the proper use, storage, and handling of firearms.
For the next 2 days, Maj is in Compton, an area known for its high crime rate. In 2016 alone, the homicide rate tripled. In addition to spreading the word about his campaign, he'll be meeting with local groups and running a firearms safety and training event for local residents.
I see Black Guns Matter progressing because more and more people from an urban demographic are getting more educated and informed, and they're being more safe. I believe that that will cut down on homicides, fatalities, accidental deaths.
How does it relate to your own background?
I've been the same person from that urban environment. I've been the same person that was told, you know, oh, guns are bad, firearms are bad. They have to be the bad guy or you're, law enforcement. And that's just a lie. It's just not true.
So what about people who say, essentially, that more guns means more death?
Our argument isn't there should be more or less firearms. Our argument is education and training about the firearms that are here because the people are missing the information. Here you go, sister. Let me give you one of these. Firearms training tomorrow. That's the address right there. Totally free event.
But I don't have a gun.
You don't have to have a gun, just get the information. And if you choose to get a gun later, you cool and miss the It's important to do this kind of outreach because if you don't inform the people and reach out to them, they gotta touch you. They gotta see you real. If you're not and they can't touch you, it's not real to them.
So are you saying that having more legal guns in neighborhoods will make them safer?
My viewpoint is people should be more educated about firearms. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to purchase one. That doesn't mean that they have to agree with me. That doesn't mean that they have to have one. Over 18 to 21?
What was your first experience of guns?
I was about 15, and it was just the gun in the house. But I remember putting that gun on my hip, walking around thinking I was, Clint Eastwood. I'm the Terminator. Fortunately, nobody got hurt, but I remember that feeling. There was a good feeling, a certain level of confidence, knowing that you had a certain tool, but what I didn't have that I have now was respect for that tool. So I remember that foolishness very vividly.
Black empowerment and freedom to carry. Black people can carry guns too, just like all races too. As long as you got your permit, you're a card-carrying member, got you, man. I'll keep the flyer, I'll be there.
If you're free tomorrow,
respect y'all.
Absolutely.
All right, then. Huey.
No doubt.
All right.
Yep.
Maj has been invited by the University of Southern California to talk to students and the public about his beliefs.
I'm giving my opinion about guns.
It has nothing to do with
If a bullet is flying, it doesn't pick and choose. If you're in the way.
the person picked and choose.
So,
I see what you're saying.
why do you need so many bullets?
Because I want to. If somebody come in here right now and nobody in here is strapped, and they just want to decide to start picking us off, Dylan Roof style, what you gonna do? Pray?
Right.
No, my angels are gonna protect me because I'm on a whole nother vibration.
You gonna get shot. Me neither. I'm not gonna get shot.
And so,
See?
Where do you draw the line at gun ownership in terms of what weapons you should be able to own?
I think that the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. I think that when you're a responsible adult, able to go to war for the same country that says you can't defend yourself with those same type of firearms, I think that's a huge contradiction. And I think that's an infringement.
What's the whole point of going through being licensed to carry a gun?
I'm saying that
you go and purchase bullets.
No, there is no point. They're using your thought process of safety to create mandates to make sure that you and us can't defend ourselves. Because
what are you defending yourself from?
Tyranny, violence, criminals.
Violence?
What do you mean? What violence?
I'm saying I haven't had a gun, and I haven't had to.
And that's great.
Myself.
That's good.
So it's like
that's great.
So what I'm saying is, you feel like you have to go and get a gun. Anybody being able to go in there.
What is your purpose for coming to this meeting?
You want me to leave?
No.
Oh, okay.
I respect. So what? So I'm asking.
Is there a problem?
Yeah.
Why?
You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
You are. A strong component of our organization is conflict resolution and de-escalation tactics. I think a lot of times what's left out in that of the firearm conversation is that it doesn't have to go straight to a firearm. There's a way to de-escalate situations.
Let's go.
You have to leave because she told you to. I'll see you soon, good brother.
Learn how to talk to people.
There is no benefit to arguing. There is no benefit.
So who are we meeting here today?
Oh, today we're meeting Mr. Evans. He runs the Evans Security and Training organization. He's been here since, I think, 1986. He was one of the only firearm ranges and gun stores in Compton. There's so few gun shops in Compton for the same reason that there's so little gun education in Compton. People have a misconception that because we're from an urban environment that somehow that means if firearms are around, we're gonna just be killing each other. That happens when ignorance is around in any community, you know, that isn't taught respect for a tool.
How do you think people in this area view guns?
Because the crime rate is so high and because we do have a lot of shootings, it depends on the kind of people you're talking about. Black people traditionally view guns as a bad thing. A lot of them don't have guns in their homes. A lot of them don't go to the range to shoot guns.
So what do you think about Maj's movement?
I think it's a good effort. Hopefully it'll calm some of these people's fears if they realize that they do have a right to protect themselves and that there are some things that they can legally do to protect themselves. I retired from law enforcement in 2004. I've had 2 occasions where I had to use deadly force as a regular citizen. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in everybody having a gun. If you don't have one to carry on your person, you should at least have one in your house.
Are you endorsed by the NRA?
Everyone asks me that. Everyone asks, am I endorsed by the NRA? No, adamantly no. They respect what we are doing as an organization because they're not traditionally in an urban demographic. So I have not received one single penny from the NRA. First and foremost, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. The case, because there's laws being created over time, designed specifically to de-arm you, all along we've been ignoring that, especially in the hood. Because for a very long time it's been, oh, that ain't for us. Them NRA people is white crazy people.
The stereotype that the NRA and the gun rights movement is just a bunch of old white guys, you know, old racist rednecks who don't want you, you know, around, don't want you part of the culture. You have been lied to. Nothing could be further from the truth. Not only do we, as NRA members, want you all, we're begging you to come in because without communities like this, because the reality is most of the anti-gun politicians come from communities like this, come from urban areas, right? The history of gun control is a history of racism. I'm happy to answer questions, but don't say anything that might incriminate yourself like I got a machine gun, you know.
Let's just deal with the gorilla in the room. People in our hood is getting murdered regularly by corrupt portions of law enforcement. That's just what it is. Part of the reason why that's happening is because they don't, I'm not doing this. This right here is why you getting your head blown off. Do you understand? I don't submit to that philosophy. Tyranny's tyranny. Just like the Second Amendment don't have a color, tyranny don't have a color or a job description. You understand? When that happens, then you'll start to seeing some of the changes that we be marching about. If you didn't prepare, you are an unorganized truth fighting an organized lie. Write that shit down. So you'll lose.
I think people coming down here actually telling you like your actual rights and being able to actually possess a gun legally instead of illegally, you know, I think those are the right steps that this community needs.
When they elected Donald Trump to the White House, I figure we gonna have 4 years of hell. I'm a 69-year-old woman. I lived through sitting on the back of the bus. I'm not doing that no more. I done lived through that. I'm not getting the back of no goddamn bus.
We're under attack in a political sense. We're under attack by both of the political parties, but in particular, Trump's rhetoric has been encouraging violence. And so I think it's just that much more important for us to be informed about guns. Maybe some of us buy them, but at least we know how to use them so that we can defend ourselves against people who are literally murdering us.
So how do you personally feel about firearms?
I, have operated a firearm. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it, but anybody can learn how to use a 9mm. Anybody can learn how to clean a gun. Anybody can learn about the Second Amendment rights.
So how did the event go?
The event went well in Compton. It was a packed house. A lot of people got informed. It was real passionate. Some people were really upset. Most people were really happy. But everybody got some information, so I'm cheesing. I love when the people from the hood come out and learn. That's the indicator of success for the event for me. I've given myself to this, I've committed to an ideal. So until it's solved, I don't really believe in no, so it's gonna go as far until either the people don't want it or the need for it to exist isn't there anymore.